You're listening to iFanboy Pick of the Week, episode 980. My name is Connor Kilpatrick, and this is my co-host, Josh Flanagan.
I am Josh, and you are Connor.
And if you're watching at home, I apologize. Right before the show, my webcam died. And so you're looking at me through my decade-old embedded monitor
but
camera.
when you say, like, this webcam is from 2015, it doesn't feel like that's, should be 10 years. That's a long time.
But it's not even HD.
2015 just happened, I believe.
Yeah, maybe. No.
Is it really? It's only like 480.
Look at it. Look at me. Look how horrible it is. It's not HD. It's before HD. Anyway, the point is, I apologize. I'll be fixed by the next show. Welcome to iFanboy 2025. It's our 20th year doing this show, and our 20th year of doing iFanboy. And that means that every week for 25 years, one of us has picked the book they like the best from the stack of the comics they read every week. We call that book the Pick of the Week. We'll talk about that book, other books from the week, the Patron Pick, the Listener Mail. It'll be fun. Spoiler warning. It's happening right now. You're in it. This is the moment. Exercise caution. This is it. The spoiler warning is happening at this moment. Josh, you sorry son of a bitch. You had the Pick of the Week this week.
Do you know, like to this day, whenever anybody says spoiler, the first thing I think of is the crying game. Every time.
Well, that was like a seminal moment of our childhoods.
Right. I didn't even know what the movie was about, or to have any
or what the spoiler was. Because the word wasn't.
Yeah, I guess
the word wasn't used. Like
no, it wasn't. I don't know when that happened. I think that seems like an internet thing.
Internet, yeah. The term spoiler wasn't in consciousness.
Like Battlestar Galactica. I don't know. Yeah. Like, I think it had to be social media. It had to be.
I mean, obviously the seminal spoiler of our lifetimes is Empire Strikes Back, but that wasn't in our consciousness because we were too young. So the seminal spoiler of our like adolescence would be.
I wish I remembered if I knew that from the movie or not, but I don't.
Empire Strikes Back?
Yeah, I just know it as a fact.
I mean, I know I saw it. I saw it as a kid, but I don't remember. Anyway.
Yeah, but I don't know if I already knew it.
This is what happens when there wasn't a super great week of comics. Okay, let's talk about Empire Strikes Back.
A few hours ago,
you tried to quit iFanboy.
I did. I asked. I generally was like, where does it state that I need to pick a best book from here? Because and listen, here's we always have to. I didn't read my books and be like, this is a pile of shit. It's just that I finished it, moved along with my life, and then at some point today, I was like, oh yeah, I have to make a pick. Let me just open up that list. I thought, did I read any of these? And I didn't read them early. I read them all yesterday, but it wasn't.
It just wasn't. It wasn't strong. I didn't read like a lot of bad comics. I didn't read comics I enjoyed, and I could have made a pick, but I certainly once you said it, I was like, oh yeah, no, this wasn't a great week. Because we hadn't talked about a rundown yet.
That's true. And it wasn't obvious. Like it was just like I went to look at the list and I was like, oh no, this is just
no good. No good.
Okay, so the pick of the week is, this works though, because you have to think about it. The pick of the week is G.I. Real American Hero number 317, Larry Hama. I shouldn't even have to say that. And by the way, the fact that I shouldn't have to say that is one of the best things in the world.
I was thinking about this earlier when you did pick it, and I have no problem with this pick. I told you when you made it, I was like, yeah, I could have made a case for this book too. It's almost like Usagi Yojimbo, the Real American Hero version. This book, not the other G.I. Joe book, because it's always good, right? Like there's always something I could talk about with it. I can always make the case for it.
So my case with this one is that it felt the most like an early, like in the 100 or so first issues or special missions.
It did all the things you want G.I. Joe to do.
Yeah, like there is a team of ninjas infiltrating Springfield, pretending to be other people, pretending to be Crimson Guards or CGs as it goes. There is another team who is invading what's the island?
Cobra Island.
It is Cobra Island.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was the.
No, they held on to that real estate.
Right, but I thought that wherever they had the zombie infestation with the tourists, that was the same place.
It is. They had the casino on Cobra Island.
Oh, at the Revenge Dome.
They developed it while we were not reading. Off the coast of Cobra Island, it says.
The Revenge Dome is in Louisiana and Baton Rouge. Anyways, this is a globe-trotting adventure. So you have that. You have Revenge, which are they're not zombies. They're like AI robots who
Right.
created the zombies. I think
They created the zombie virus that made people
using
zombies.
Dr. Mindbender's science or whatever, and then like made it worse. And Dr. Mindbender was everybody was turned into zombies, including Mindbender. Mindbender, by the way, and this can't be said enough. If you're like, wait a minute, I don't know if I remember these. So Dr. Mindbender has a bald head and a long handlebar mustache and crucially a monocle.
Yeah.
And just like you've seen him before, but when we list these things out, I think the picture really comes together.
Yeah.
And he has no shirt.
Well, he really works hard on it.
And he has like sort of like, I don't know, like tech suspenders and then a big cape. And
it's great.
And it is. Absolutely not. And what's important to remember is that what he is a disgraced dentist.
He was a dentist. He was.
That is the origin of his story.
And that's what I loved about this G.I. Joe. And I don't want to derail, but like, Cobra Commander was a used car salesman. Dr. Mindbender was a dentist. It was Larry Hama.
Raptor was an accountant.
Larry Hama saw our current political climate coming and saw disaffected men in the suburbs turning towards extremism, and that's what we've got. He did. That's what he wrote in the 80s. Mm-hmm. He took all these.
I think maybe that there was a case of like in Vietnam, you had these people who turned out to be complete lunatics or
maybe, but that's my point. This is why I think this is way better than Cobra Law, because it's much scarier to have just random dudes becoming Cobra than it is to have people what were snakes.
I will say, like, and even as a kid, whenever they introduced like a supernatural, the cartoon had supernatural elements here and there, but it was okay. When I read the comics, like I hate seeing it. Doesn't happen a lot. Not for the first 5 or 10 years.
Serpentor is basically
Serpentor kind of is, but even like the zombies in this are kind of pseudoscience.
It's rooted in some sort of science.
So Revenge, this story's been going on since the book was published at IDW, and there's 17 issues into this here. Just to it just keeps going.
This is the third time this has been pick of the week. This reboot. The last one was 313.
Nice. But what I haven't thought once was, man, I wish they'd get this storyline over with.
This does feel like it's a new arc, even though G.I. Joe doesn't really do arcs. They do a continuing saga. This feels like a new chapter in that saga.
Right, but we're still dealing with the issues. Absolutely. It's just that everything moved along. Anyway, just to conclude, Revenge goes and gives everybody the cure for the zombieism, all the tourists and Dr. Mindbender, but then they soup up Dr. Mindbender a little bit. They're like, oh, we're gonna take this out of you, and he's like, great, and then he comes out and he's and you think he's gonna be mad, but he's just like, I feel positively invigorated.
Yeah,
I think it makes me think of sorry, I just want to apologize to everybody. In Tombstone, Curly Bill goes into the tent and he smokes the opium, and he comes outside and he's waving his gun around and he looks up at the moon and he's like, I feel just capital. And this reminds me of that because he has a similar mustache. He has a shirt on now, but
they gave him a suit, which I didn't love.
Instead of a regular, but then there's a skull cap.
That was weird. And the cover, I mean, look at the cover. When I saw it, I was like, what did they do to Cobra Commander? Just because he looks like Cobra Commander with the mustache.
Right.
And I thought that was maybe Cobra Commander's like hat.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. That's the skull cap they've given Dr. Mindbender.
The thing here is the one inside's better than the one on the cover. Yeah. But what they don't have on the cover is there is a monocle, but his new monocle has mechanical arm that is holding it in place, and I imagine it can retract and go up and down, and it makes noises. So all that happens.
Or is it a chain? Because look, when he's fighting, it's like bouncing around.
No, I think it's an articulated arm.
Look, it's like a chain thing. Look at look at page.
Nope, that's the
look
shape.
At 14. Look at 14. It's like that's the shape. You think? Oh, that is the shape.
Yeah. Go to the next page. You can see the little arms. That's where it is.
Weird. It's like coming way off his head.
Not awesome for hand-to-hand combat, which, by the way, he's not usually into, but now he can be, and maybe he feels tough.
Oh, they made him super strong. They made him feel young again. They made him, in all the great comic book ways. They stick him in the machine.
Right. Always a big machine in G.I. Joe, by the way. Cartoon, whatever, like the brain scanning device. This is basically just 300 plus issues of the brain scanner. Anyway, all that. And then in the last few pages, we go to Castle Destro, where in Mufti Cobra Commander is in the first line he has his "I got boulder dash." You can hear it.
I did.
And then Destro pulls he's like, well, there's one thing, and he zaps him because he put pain receptors all over inside his body. And then I'm just, these are moments. Like, it was a
he zapped him with a garage door opener.
Yeah. And Baroness is way into it. She's like, let's keep doing this. Big smile. It all
Destro's gonna have himself a good night after.
Yeah, this is all, and then they go back to you got dial tone.
You're bouncing everything. You're bouncing around through the world right now. There's a lot of things happening. It's all really good. Even though we talked about this last time, we wish the ninjas weren't a team and they were integrated with the rest of Joe's. Seeing them like hiding in a trunk was funny.
But they have and they're like in the house, and Storm Shadow's still in full uniform because he's not, and they're like, hide, and just like gets behind the lamp. It isn't any one of those things, because whatever is the aggregation of all of these things having happened in one issue, and it contained every element of the comic books that I've always loved. Every one of them. Ridiculous shit, military, planning and execution, Cobra Commander.
And then they always gave Cobra a whiff of Nazism. And the sort of Cobra Hitler Youth are always creepy.
Yeah,
that show up in the house, like, oh, is what's her name come out to play? We were going to the senior center for our troop activities, and it's just creepy. Cobra's always been creepy, and it's nice.
We had time in Springfield, which is always fun. This issue, I don't know how all of this was crammed into the 20. I think it's actually 22 pages. It's fantastic.
Look at page 16 on your digital reader. Are those two guys from like a 70s band who were at the casino? Like these two guys?
I think that's what I know. I think that's what kids dress like now.
I guess.
Mullets are back. And they were the ugly sunglasses.
Were they turned into robots? Is that what was happened? All the casino people were robots now?
No, they were zombies, and then they were tourists, and they were turned into zombies, and then they cured them all, but they put in a little sleeper element so that when they go back to wherever, then they can turn them back to revenge agents, I guess.
Because I thought, well, I guess you can't tell. No, here, look, when they have to blow up that woman's head, but when you see here on this panel, like there's like mechanics sticking out of her neck. On page
maybe that's what they
18. I thought they turned maybe they turned them all into, I don't know. The only
tech into them.
The only thing I have a slight amount of trouble is just the revenge stuff, only because it all happened when we weren't reading. So I'm always trying to figure out what exactly is going on with them. But everything else is great. And Paul Pelletier, we need to talk about, fits right in with the style of art, but he's at an elevated level than you would have gotten in 1987, except for a handful of guys who did G.I. Joe.
Yeah,
but he still fits in the aesthetic of how these books looked, and everyone looks great. They're all slightly beefy, slightly giant chin, but that's fine. Everyone has their own style. But I loved it. I love this. This was one of the books I really did enjoy this week for all the reasons you said.
It's interesting that you said the Usagi thing, because Usagi I don't even take into consideration. I just go cool, and I read it, and I don't think it's a pick of the week. It's kind of like there for me. So when you took away all the other options, I was like, oh, I enjoyed this more than anything else. Just talking about it made it more fun than anything else. There's nothing else I'm going to talk about.
So it's going to be
in the upcoming year is going to be as fun as that. Could be a month before I talk about a book this fun.
Although there are things that are interesting this week. There were several books that I quite enjoyed that were interesting. One of which was Marvel Knights: The World to Come #1. Oops, I forgot to put the letter in. Sorry guys, it was a crazy day. Written by Joe Quesada and Christopher Priest with art by Joe Quesada. And this is, I don't know what this is. And we're very famously don't read the solicits, don't read the 100 press releases I get a day from Marvel. I don't know what anything is ever. And this seems to be a return to the Black Panther Marvel Knights book from like 98 or 99 or
Christopher Priest and God, I want to say Chris Cross, but I don't know for sure.
It's just interesting. It's because that was its own continuity, and so I guess we're just returning to that continuity for this. Because Marvel Knights was in its own bubble,
and I hate
Daredevil. I don't know. It was all very confusing.
I hate to say because like I knew at the time that book was really highly regarded, but I didn't read it. So I don't I have no I know like the Punisher one was bad. And then there was this, which was good, but I just never read Black Panther. And
But
so
it's just, I mean, I liked this. There was a lot of Black Panther this week, which is interesting. Or at least a lot of Wakanda this week, and a lot of the books I read. I just wasn't quite sure what I was reading because I guess I just forgot. Because some Marvel Knights books were in continuity. Like Daredevil was in continuity.
I think this was, and I think they took them out of it. Mark
Or maybe-
Teixeira.
Mark Teixeira? Yeah. That makes sense.
He was the one.
So this was a story about
what was it a story about?
It was about
T'Challa getting
T'Challa's
old.
son.
Yeah.
But then the big reveal is at the end of T'Challa's son's white.
What?
It flashes around times. That's just what we're having trouble quantifying it because it flashes back and forth in time a lot.
And there's an event. The after the world to come is the event. So there's years before it. I think there's some years after it.
If you recall from the film when T'Challa had to fight Michael B. Jordan for ruling the Wakanda, there's a fight here in the same
ruling the muscle-bound actor role
and
ruling the attractive active men role.
Yeah,
they were like,
so there's a fight in the waterfall and between T'Challa and his son, and T'Challa keeps beating him and keeps trying to show him mercy, but the priest keeps saying, "No, if you want to be the ruler of Wakanda, you got to kill him." And so we get to the end, and he doesn't kill T'Challa either, which is strange. I don't know. I thought this was good, but more interesting than good.
You know what? There's a moment there that I really liked is that he's trying to have it. He's trying to get them to stop. And at one point, like the kid gets up and he just goes, "I said, get down." And he pushes. We don't know he's his kid yet. I just was like, oh, that was really like, that was a good comic book moment. And Christopher Priest is a veteran. Obviously, he's been around forever. He's never been one of my favorite writers, but I can tell now, like, oh, he's great. You know, he's been at it. And he is one of those people. And I think that this actually describes this book is that the comic is an older style of comic book, but has evolved to not seem out of place now. And when I say that, and I also reply, first of all, I've unabashedly loved Joe Quesada's art for my whole life. I think that I think people forgot, you know, that he was a fantastic comic, still is, I guess. You know, but he became the editor-in-chief, and like that was what he was known for. But I mean, when that Daredevil book came out, like it was one of the most gorgeous books I'd ever seen. And here being colored by Richard Eisenoff, like this, I feel like if I had read this book in 2000, I'd be like, this is the most beautiful book I'd ever see. It looks like a book from 2000, but in the best possible way is what I thought. That Eisenoff color, I feel like we should see him all the time, and we don't anymore.
Although I feel like this is the second time I've written his name in the scripts in the last week or so.
Yeah.
So. Or maybe I'm just hallucinating.
But I just think it's really cool that you got these two vets who were like, hey, let's finish the story we used to do. And because Joe Quesada is who he is, like he can make that happen. And so they're just, well, let's do this. And I love that exists.
We talk about Marvel Knights all the time. It was very important for us. It was happening right as we're graduating from college and starting iFanboy and, you know, saving Marvel creatively. And so, you know, they return to everything else. Why not return to you know, one of these books with the guys who were there at the time? I thought it was interesting. I'm looking forward to reading the second one to see actually where this is going, because I did find I was a little confused, but in a good way.
I think all this was in continuity at the time, but I also think that as time went on, they decided to keep some of it and to scrap some of it. I think that's more what it was.
Well, I mean, in this book, he was married to Storm.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not hung up on the continuity.
It's your pick and choose.
I'm not hung up on it.
But I think that like it was all supposed to be, and then we're like, yeah, that Punisher thing didn't happen. And then, you know, like Black Panther was
the only way you could do
it. He wasn't part of the Marvel universe for a really long time. And they sort of brought him back before the movie, but then in a big way. And that kind of like left most of what had happened behind, at least fuzzy.
Right.
You know, they weren't referring to it very much.
It was interesting. It was not called Black Panther, The World to Come. It's called Marvel Knights, The World to Come. So I wonder if it's going to touch on anything else from Marvel Knights.
You know what I say at this point? But yeah, the Century was Marvel Knights. So like it all should come from there. You know what? If Punisher Angel shows up, I'm actually all for it.
Why not? At this point,
Uh-huh.
who cares?
The Sentry was in a movie, so
He
all
was.
bets are off.
I was waiting for you to talk to experience that. I wasn't going to say anything to spoil it.
My wife's like, so what was that about? And I was like, oh, it was one of the worst comic books ever.
I'm gonna.
And then
I'm
I
gonna.
told her about my page on the wall behind me. I go, I own a page, an original comic book page, specifically because they're hauling around his decapitated torso. And I thought it was hilarious because the character's that bad.
So we're gonna take a quick break and talk about more comics. But while we take a break, go dig up Pick of the Week episode 234. That is the episode where you guys reviewed The Century Fallen Sun, and it might be our finest. I wasn't even on the show. It might be our finest moment we've ever done on this show. Go listen to that. We'll be back in a second. All right, we had another big one from Marvel this week. Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion #1, written by Dennis Camp and Cody Ziegler, with art by Jonas Scharf. I know one of those names. People might have forgotten that Miles Morales in the comics is the Miles from the Ultimate Universe.
I remembered when I was reading this. I was like, oh yeah.
He went through the doorway. That when the universe was ending, the maker offered him the chance to escape because he was in the movie, and he did. And so they sort of forgot that for a while. So maybe you've forgotten yourself. And this one, he gets sucked back into the Ultimate Universe when a doorway opens in his house, and his baby sister, who's like a 11 months old, falls through the portal. So he jumps in after her and ends up in the Ultimate Universe, back in the Ultimate Universe, in the one we're currently reading.
So he doesn't remember 616. He doesn't remember where he's from.
He said we kept saying it was fuzzy in his head.
Yeah, he has like a feeling. So it sounds like when he transported, he just
himself.
felt like he didn't really know. Right. He just, that's good. That's good comic book science. I'm still looking at the Black Panther book.
All right, well, you got to move on to this one.
I'm sorry.
What are your thoughts? I've always said that I love Miles. Is the character I absolutely love. Is out of place in the Marvel universe. I hate all the double characters, and I think if they're going to reestablish the Ultimate Universe as a place, I'm not saying they are, and I'm not saying this is happening, but bring him back into it would be interesting. But I don't think they're going to. I just think this is a fun story.
I thought it was a fun story for the most part, but also I was like, I kind of don't care. I kind of want them to get it over with. Like for a second, I was like, well, maybe they're going to move forward. But they're just adding more elements instead of moving forward, which is what they've been doing for like at least a year or more.
Have people been calling Spider-Man and Ultimate Spider-Man?
I don't know.
I
really took me a while to remember that he's now with his son who has a muscular male adult body now.
Well,
and
it's magical. Well, Miles calls the son Venom, and he's, that's a cool name. And he calls him Spider-Man, and I thought, wait, has anyone ever used that actual name in this? They could have. My brain couldn't remember.
Miles's suit looks different,
and
I thought that was
weird.
I know. I thought that I was like, wait, and then at one point, and I forgot that he was half Latino, but he says "Can hecho," and I thought, whoa, is this the Spider-Man 2099? Because he looked different, and I thought, oh, is that what it's going to be? And I was like, oh no, that is Miles. Who's looking for 11-month-old? Like if someone didn't pick her up, she's dead. Right. 11-month-old can't do anything.
No. I did like this issue. And I liked that they fought Spot. Spot was always one of my favorite villains because it creates a really creative, slapsticky fight scene. And you can really do some fun stuff with it. And so the group fight with Spot, it seems like some sort of zombie Spot. Yeah. It was still really fun. I didn't love the art, if I'm being honest.
Well, the problem, I didn't love it, but the problem here with the art is that I didn't pay attention to body styles, and it would have been a lot easier for me to follow it if I know that Peter Parker Spider-Man, he's older,
adult, right,
and he's an adult, and
there's one panel where they're all the same size,
right, and
they're all the same height.
Like Miles should be smaller and more live, and then the kid should be even smaller and not necessarily muscular. And I think that was a problem for me because I kept going, all right, he's the young one. It wasn't correct. And it showed me there's a shot. I can't see the thing. That's supposed to be the kid.
Yeah, that's terrible. It's
Jack
not a good. The art's not
barrel-chested
good.
man.
It's just not good.
And then if I mean, I guess my in terms of complaint is that at the end we go through all of these bad guys' reaction. I guess they're bad guys, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know who any of these people are, or if I kind of do, I don't know what it means.
Well, they're all from the Ultimates book, but
I
that
know,
was a
but
while ago.
the point was like none of it stuck.
Yeah, well, that's just
Like,
because I don't think you're enjoying that book. These are all the people that are running
do
different
you
sectors of
remember
the
them?
world. Yeah,
Like
they're all the bad guys running
so
different
it's Hulk.
sectors of the world.
Is that what it is? It's Hulk
Captain
and
Britain,
Captain
Hulk,
Britain and Sunspot.
Sunfire, yeah, and
Sun-
the Russians from Ultimate Wolverine. Like I know who all these people are,
Okay.
but it's just they're the warlords of the Earth.
And then they cut up to the satellite, and I was like, Jesus, there's even more of these characters. I just it's I mean it's Dennis Camp, so and Cody Ziegler. And then my final bit was there's a little bit in the beginning, and they made Miles Morales not talk like I speak, which is correct. He shouldn't. But they kind of gave up on it for one thing. Like make him sound like a 17-year-old American kid.
Right.
He's got to say bro a fuckload more. He's got have I told you my theory of that?
Well, there was this whole discussion in Discord whether or not New Yorkers say bro or not, and so he would probably say my man more than he would
They
say
do.
bro.
They all say because that's what everyone on YouTube says.
No, but
And
I'm saying
everybody talk.
I don't hear it. I don't hear it when I'm in New York as much as I hear
You're
my
not
man.
spending time around 60. They all talk like the YouTube people, and
I hear him
they
on the
say
bus
bro
and the
instead
subway.
of dude. Anyway, do you think Matt Fraction is responsible for this?
For what?
Bro.
No, I think it's in the culture.
I think that maybe the seed was planted in his Hawkeye series.
No, I don't. I mean, I hear it all the time in the culture in the world.
You can't just play along with me, can you?
No, I mean,
I'm saying
you're asking me a question.
Matt Fraction is responsible for the whole thing. That's my theory.
I'm saying I don't think you are enjoying the Ultimate Comics.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
I
this
agree.
is a revelation for you. You're not enjoying them.
They're not. Yeah, I don't care what happens. I just want to know what happens, but not because of enjoyment. I've spent so much time that, but I don't feel like it's going anywhere. I think
Which is fine. I think that's fair.
Yeah,
but I think you this is like a breakthrough at a therapist's office. You don't like the Ultimate books.
I want to like some of them.
Well, you're only reading 2.
I'm reading Ultimate Spider-Man
and the Ultimates.
And the Ultimates and you're reading the Wolverine one.
I'm reading Wolverine. X-Men still coming out.
Yeah,
so there's 4 at least.
I'm half 50%.
But you're not enjoying them. That's my point. You don't enjoy the Ultimates.
I don't hate them, but no, like I've definitely turned a corner recently.
Yeah, I think you don't like them, which is fine. You can not like them.
Well, I will give you that. Like the other thing I thought as I was reading this was just like, so you just added more shit in, because again, we keep meeting people. Maker's nowhere to be seen. I think
the real problem with the Ultimate books is the whole Maker storyline. It's just they just sort of restarted the Ultimate Universe and hadn't done it, and then you didn't need to give it you didn't need to give it this wrapping that doesn't seem to be
just do
off.
the Maker story in 8 issues,
right,
and then move along. I think that
kick off the world with a big event, and
right.
But now it's just annoying.
And then he's there if you need him, but it's been so long, and we don't even like we talked about it. We talked about it to death. Don't need to. It's fine.
Birds of Prey.
Yeah, Birds of Prey. I don't know how much I have, but I really like this storyline, and there was a scene in this that I actually stood out to me. Is that Dinah and Barbara like bicker with each other, but not in a friendly way, but in like a chain of command way. And I thought, I don't know that I've ever seen 2 women characters do that. I've seen men do this, and I've seen men and women do this, but I was like, well, this really passes the Bechdel test in that this is like a realistic thing, that 2 people in command of an organization like this would do. And I've never seen it, or I can't think of it. I just thought, no, it's this tiny thing that you should have seen a million times. I like the stakes in this story a lot. I like that Barda, has been taken over by whatever, and they're all really serious about making sure they bring their team back in. But there are real there's conflicts within the team that are not necessarily just personal. In fact, their personal relationships are really good, but the way that they're going about things and how they're sort of doing leadership, I think, is very mature. Because these kinds of books, like look over in the JSA book, which I guess is coming up, and that's all about people who don't like each other for all sorts of reasons, but it's not necessarily operationally.
Right.
And I think that made this interesting. I think that's probably what I had here.
I did kind of laugh at Oracle's drone controlling mask helmet. But this book should be better. I mean, Kelly Thompson's really good and has a great handle on the voices. Sami Basri is an artist I like a lot. They've been using a lot in the last couple of arcs. And I like this arc more than I've liked previous arcs. But I just feel like it's ultimately an unmemorable comic, which is bizarre to me. But
I think I like this book.
Something is missing from it. I don't know what. I mean, I've read basically every issue of Blizzard that's ever been printed, and there's just something is missing from it. I don't know if it's a modern comic problem where they don't really get to settle into team books. They just have to careen from one adventure to the next. There's no time to build anything, which is harder in a team book than a solo book. I don't know if that's the problem, because also, in a certain sense, all team books are kind of like this, where it's unmemorable in a way. But I don't know. I do like reading it. I do like it, and I'm happy whenever it comes out. And I think, again, this arc with Bard has been really fun. But something's missing, and I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it.
I don't know that I feel. Maybe I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's almost like a good problem. You're like, what could you do? Something to do that, but you could, like, thinking about it's part of the fun, like trying to solve that. I like the relationships that have developed through here. They can't figure out what Sin's deal is. I can't either, but I'm not bothered by it that much. The Dinah and Barbara sort of dichotomy that's happening, and then the sort of I love Cassie Kane in this. I think that they've actually developed. No, but I mean, even the fact that, like, they've developed the character more from where she was. She's more mature. She's more experienced, and she gets along great with Barda, who a character I love. So it's been fun. I enjoy it.
What are Sin's powers?
She has a demon bonded to her soul. And so now that she has agreement with that demon, Megara, and when she needs those capabilities, and they did a thing where at first it was a little wishy-washy, and then we're like, well, we've made an agreement with each other. So she's there for demon-like things.
Because in the middle of this, she turns into Mantis from the Guardians of the Galaxy. And I was like, what?
I don't know. I'm just going with it.
Very confusing.
Boom tubed into the office. I liked that.
I feel like boom tubes should cause more havoc when they open. Like,
well, that's what
papers should fly around. And anyway,
this book is just called "Put Barbara Gordon in a Lot of Danger," the comic book.
Yeah.
This is like the third time
her layer's always getting blown up or something.
Yeah,
something's always happening to it.
She needs a different place.
We're gonna contemplate that. Take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. I did want to talk about JSA number 8. First of all, terrific cover. I believe it's Michael Cho. Terrific throwbacky cover. This was kind of the book I was hoping it would be the entire time. And by saying that, I mean, and acknowledge me and 20 other people probably. But most of this issue is a flashback to World War II, where they have an adventure and it's the original team, and everyone's still alive, and it's just fun. It's just fun. It's just a fun old JSA adventure in World War II, and everyone's fighting Nazis. And I was like, I would read this all day long. And then, of course, we have to come back to the present at the end. But still, the vast majority of this issue takes place in World War II. The Blackhawks show up. It's like their first mission in the war. And the soldiers were like, why didn't you been helping us? It's like, because Hitler had the Spear of Destiny. It kept us out of the war. Like, that was the whole thing. That was the whole reason why they couldn't fight in their old days. I just thought this was great. And then we had to come back to the present day where things suck more. But I thought this was the best issue of a book I wish was way better than it is. But if you want to read a one-shot story of the Justice, Gavin Guidry is really good. He has not been drawing this book. I don't remember where we saw him last, and I enjoyed it. But this was a good comic. It was a good one.
Well, this will be the last issue of Absolute Green Lantern I give a chance to. Issue number 3 came out, and I was about halfway through, and I went, no, this is terrible. Not necessarily for the same reasons that you thought it was terrible.
Why did you think it was terrible? I don't read it anymore.
Well, I think part of me was hoping that, like, Hal Jordan wouldn't be put into the parallax-ish kind of thing, because they already did that, and I think historically we've all learned that was a terrible idea.
Yep.
So bringing that kind of thing back is a terrible idea. I have a relation.
What is the story of this book? Like when I read it, it was the first issue.
They're trapped in a big green dome.
Okay.
No one knows what's going on. Jon Stewart's in there, and the lady who seems to have powers. And then Hal Jordan's in there with him, but he's got some sort of black energy power thing, and he can't control. Like it's like in him, like Megara, not unlike.
Right.
The problem here is 3 issues in, nothing's happened. They're all like, "Why are we still in this dome?" And it's not okay. Like we have no clue what's going on at all.
Right.
There's a neat thing in here where like they figure out that you can throw gold things through the dome, yellow impurity, I guess.
Yellow impurity. That's
But it's
nice.
not
I
like
always
gold. It's just things that are gold colored.
Well,
And
that's what the impurity was back then. Just
yeah,
anything
no,
yellow.
and that's fine. That was kind of interesting, but like that's as far as they got, that they could throw yellow things through the hole.
Throw it through the
And
hole.
I don't like the art. I don't think, and I think part of this is just like, if this was just another Green Lantern book, I would be like, whatever, I don't need to read it. I don't read Green Lantern anyway.
Sure.
I mean, I would if it's good, but it's supposed to be good. It's supposed to be the absolute one, and you're gonna bring him in.
There are slight diminishing returns on the absolutes.
As you go down the line,
Flash has been okay, and
it's okay.
Martian Manhunter, I think, is getting worse.
Yeah, that you can't hold that up. It's too.
I'm not holding it up. I'm not. It looks gorgeous, but the story's not coming together.
That's what I mean. Like the story, when the story starts off that abstract, it's really hard to pull it together into anything.
Well, you have to pull it together, and they haven't. And now we're
right. But I'm
3 out of
saying
12 issues, and it's like, well, what is happening in this book?
Historically, with me, when you read a comic book that is a little more abstract, they usually don't pull it together. Like they just go on being weird and hoping that will be enough. Anyway, just unrelated, this book is by Al Ewing. I gave it a shot. I really did. But as I was in this, I was like, I was like, I think this is bad. I think it's this thing that like people try to make something too abstract, and it's like, dude, these are superhero adventure stories. Grant Morrison did weird shit, but he knew that. And people don't.
He never
just
forgot
trying to be weird.
Yeah.
Warren Ellis, I don't know if we're supposed to talk about him or not, but he knew that. He said, no, this is an adventure story. You can put all the weird stuff in there, but it has to move. Things have to happen. You have to want to care about the characters for some other reason than you knew them in another form in another book. That is not enough of a reason to care about a book, and they're not doing it here.
Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman have done that.
What
Flash has not done that yet.
I was thinking about that in terms of like Superman. I gave a really long leash to, because nothing really was happening for a bit. And I'm not sure it so much is, but what was happening in it was good enough and interesting enough. And also, I do have a trust in the creator, but nothing's happening here 3 issues in. I was like, it's not worth it. There's nothing holding me.
All right. Well, on that note, are you enjoying this? I'll do this part. Are you enjoying this show? That's okay. This is,
I had to cool down.
Last week was fun. We had a great time. People seemed to really love that episode. I thought it was a really good one. This week, the foundational material of the show is not helping. We're doing our best here, but we are listener supported.
We were exhausted.
We were exhausted, but there was fun things to talk about. We look. The show's not not over yet. The
show's on right now. This is it.
I know it's not over. We can rally.
Is my name Mark Maron? Am I walking away? Did I get told that you invented the internet, the podcast ever? No,
Mark, you did not.
4 years I had on you. No, I have no problem with Mark Maron, by the way.
But yeah, it's fine. It's not his fault that people keep saying he invented podcasting, along with Serial and Joe Rogan. Anyway, we are listener supported. That means people who like the show help the show keep going. We have bills to pay. My webcam just died 20 minutes ago. I'm gonna have to buy another one as soon as the show's over. That's a bill we're gonna have to pay. That's show related. And those people who help support the show help us keep the lights on, pay the bills, keep the show going. And the best way you can do that, the most direct way you can do that, is at patreon.com/iFanboy. That's where you can become part of a great community. There's a Discord server that Josh and I visit all the time. There's a Facebook group. You can vote on the patron pick and add a book to the show rundown. You can get a patron power live on the show. You can come to our monthly patron hangout or watch the replay as most patrons do. It's a fun time. At $10 or higher, you get an ad-free version of all of our shows. Plus, you get the Pick of the Week show a day early on Saturday. Plus, you get access to the iFanboy After Show on Sunday, where we're going to talk about all the books that didn't make the show's rundown. And that's going to be a fun one this week. If the book didn't make this rundown, it's going to be a lot to talk about. We even had a show we pulled at the last second. A book we pulled at the last second. There's a discount if you sign up for 1 year, and you can send or receive a gift membership. Go to patreon.com/iFanboy/gift for more info on that. And thanks to all the patrons. We really do appreciate it. You guys are keeping the show going for everyone, and they should all thank you. We should thank you, but they should thank you as well. All the freeloaders. I found one at threadless.com. That's our merch store. We have 22 designs and shirts. We got one coming in July. The 2 new shirts are related to this year's anniversary, the 2025 logo. There are 2 logos are on shirts. There'll be a new shirt in July, as I said. You can get they have sales all the time. I just bought some new shirts at the last sale. I bought 2 new ones. Not new ones. I replaced 2.
This is from
Threadless. That's a Threadless shirt. It's not our shirt. Don't advertise shirts that are not ours.
I just am saying I got shirts from them because there was a sale.
Yeah. Anyway, creator.
I'm not wearing the band I'm in shirt.
I wear it. I wear the shirts. I don't mind.
You're a different guy than me. I did have the shirts. It's just that they wore out and I got too fat or some combination of the two.
Well, that's why I bought new shirts at the sale. Anyway, let's get back to what's going on. Right. iFanboy.com/support. That's our digital tip jar. If you're an eccentric billionaire and you're in a war with the president and you need to shed cash quickly, iFanboy.com/support is
I want to say I'll take your money no matter what, but I feel like I don't want that one.
I didn't say what president or what billionaire. That could be happening all over the world.
It's just a hypothetical.
Yeah.
Any resemblance
it could be the president of your company, the president of General Motors. I don't know. President of your PTA or the president of your I was going to say HOA, but you're not a part of an HOA if you're a billionaire.
Say that you are somewhat addicted to illicit substances. If you want to stop that, I think a healthy thing to do is donate that money.
Right. For every dollar you spend on an illicit substance, send that dollar to iFanboy. It's a 1-for-1 matching program. Yeah. We won't help you, but you'll feel better. iFanboy.com/Amazon is how you can help us out. Also by shopping, go there. There's a shopping link. Make that your shopping link in your bookmark. And, that helps us out greatly as well. We appreciate everyone who does that. FinallyBookshop.org is our partner for helping local bookstores. We put those links in our Booksplode posts where you can buy the graphic novels that we talk about. And we appreciate that. And so do the local bookstores. They're the lifeblood of our communities. Let's get going more comics. Get going. I don't know what happened. I don't know what those words were. Red Hulk #5. I'm really bummed you don't like this book because I think this is terrific. I am conditioned now to think 5 is the end. So I was reading this as this was the final issue, but it's not. There's another issue coming, at least. This was an issue in which Jeff Shaw got to draw Red Hulk fighting about 1 billion Doombots and smashing them and breaking them and screaming. Do you recall when we read Red Hulk back in the old days that the Red Hulk had the ability to shoot lasers out of his eyes?
As you say it vaguely.
Because I was very confused.
See the Ed McGuinness drawing of it, I feel like.
So like he has that power here. He shoots out of his eyeballs.
Gamma lasers?
Energy. Yeah, I guess. But there's some really terrific. This is a great double-page spread of him fighting 1 million Doombots. Like there's some really great stuff as he gets powered back up and all the Doombots attack him. And what's fun is that him and Deadlock and Machine Man have been prisoners for so long. They didn't really know about Doom taking over the world and all the governments capitulating to him. So they call for backup and help from the U.S. government. And the U.S. government's like, "Oh, you guys invaded that area? You're fucked because we have a treaty with them now." And so they're basically war criminals now, which, as you can imagine, Thunderbolt Ross is not happy about. Really fun. This is a fun action book and a nice little addition to the One World Under Doom story, and it looks terrific. Red Hulk's black fingernails always freaked me out for some reason, and they continue to do so. I don't know why. They're just weird.
Do you think that he injured them all in sort of a hammer accident, or he's like or it's just like some dogs have black nails, or he's like got a secret goth thing that he's got going on.
Well,
Or not
I mean,
secret.
my first thought, goes to Goth, but there's no
Mm,
way if anyone is not Goth, it's Thunderbolt Ross.
it's
So
true. But I mean, maybe he came up in a time of don't ask, don't tell, and that was his secret way of.
that's
I'm
true.
not even.
That's
You know
why he's
what?
so angry.
I'm not even saying
He's
he.
not been living his truth for 40 years.
This is what I'm getting at.
I miss the old days of Red Hulk and everyone being angry about it, and that was fun times.
That was
Anyway,
really good.
we've been scraping together comics to talk about on this show, and that was it. Those were all the ones we wanted to talk about. But at patreon.com/iFanboy, every patron gets a vote, add a vote to the rundown. And this week, the winner, not by a lot, but it was a tight race, was Imperial #1, the new cosmic event, I guess, from Jonathan Hickman, with art by Federico Vincentini and Iban Coelho.
This is all predicated on the fact that you said, I guess.
I don't know.
That sums up my whole. I was like, all right, this is a thing.
I enjoyed the hell out of it. I liked it a lot,
Mhm.
but I don't know what it is. I think it's an event. I mean, I remember getting the press releases and I remember not reading them because I don't want to know what's coming. And I remember, so I normally I would know, but I didn't read
I
it.
delete them without even thinking about it.
Don't say that. They're going to stop sending them to you.
I don't really want them to.
So, I mean, I just, I don't know. I don't like to know what's coming 3 months ahead of time. Anyway, this is an issue in which Jonathan Hickman is setting up a new order in the cosmic Marvel universe. There's a bunch of factions who are setting up a government, all the different races, the Krees, the Skrulls, the other people. And they have a big conclave, except for the fact that someone is poisoning all the leaders, including the leader of the planet Hulk planet, whose name escapes me at the moment, who was
I
one
thought
of
his
Hulk's
name was
sons.
Scar, but they didn't say that in here. Wasn't it
One of Hulk's
SKAR?
sons
The
gets
planet
poisoned.
is Sakar, I believe.
Well, it was Sakar. Now it's like Sakar something
Okay.
else. They've renamed it. It opens with the funeral for Hulk's son, which Hulk and She-Hulk and Brawn go to. That's Amadeus Cho's name.
Just have him be Amadeus Cho. You didn't need to give him a name. It's not going to take on. We're going to call him Amadeus
No
Cho.
one's going to call him Brawn.
I saw him and I went, that's Amadeus Cho.
It's
You know why?
Sakar
great-
and Nevo. That's the new name.
It's not a superhero name, but it's a great name. It's a memorable name. He doesn't have a secret identity, so let him be. They doesn't need to be called fucking Brawn. That doesn't even make sense because he's the smart one.
And also, he's not very big. I noticed that when they all hulked out, I was like, why isn't he big like Hulk?
It's a bad name.
So Hulk's son gets poisoned. Star-Lord's father gets poisoned. Star-Lord's sister or half-sister gets poisoned. A bunch of people get poisoned. And it's a whole big sort of who's been poisoning the kings and queens of the galaxy mystery. A down-and-out rich writer, Nova, gets pulled into it, who I guess is the last of the Novas. I didn't even know that had happened.
That's fine. They were getting to be too many.
I like this a lot, and I wasn't even a guy who read the Nova Guardians books back in the day, which you and Ron did and loved. So I was curious what you thought of all this.
I liked it. I kind of spent half the time going, what is this? What is this another thing I have to pay attention to? I was a little guarded. And like I enjoyed it. I had a fun enough time reading, and I don't know
that it's like 50 pages, it's like 2.5 size.
Yeah, and it wasn't bad. It was
they moved.
I don't know that it stuck with me all that much. I'm sort of I enjoyed it, but fine. It was it's like I had some ice cream, whatever. I can't say I had really strong feelings on it one way or the other. I thought it was good. I thought it was going to be a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
I thought we were like doing some Marvel thing. And also a little part of me was like, Jonathan Hickman, aren't you supposed to be working on something else?
No, this was it.
You know what's interesting?
X-Men ended. This is his new thing.
I had this thought. And I was like, oh, I think Jonathan Hickman is Marvel's Tom King. In that when he does it, they're not the same kind of writer at all.
No, not at all.
Much more like he's in continuity, but kind of not. But like when he does a book, you automatically assume that's a prestige book. And like in that way, he's their guy. Like
totally. He now means this is a big deal.
Yes.
Right.
And I think sometimes because of that, I think I used to have to be like, all right, here's a big deal. And now I just have to think, is this a good comic or not? I don't care about how big a deal it was, but because but like the thing is they can't be like it can't be cosmic wars. It has to be like Imperial number. Like it stands out from the other things, and
Right.
so that sets up a lot of expectations, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't, like I said, I didn't know if this was like a big thing, and the cosmic side is pretty cordoned off. I mean, when they did what
Mhm,
was it, the Annihilation War, when you were
mhm.
reading it,
Yeah.
like that, you could read or not read that and be fine or not fine. Like you didn't affect anything else because it's often in space. It's not happening. The effect of this is not going to be felt in Avengers
I
or
think
whatever.
I think part of like I didn't read a Planet Hulk,
I
and
didn't
so
either.
like
We
that's
skipped
a
that.
big part of it.
Yeah.
So like when Nova showed up, I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I admit that in the years since Chris Pratt became Star Lord, I am much less interested in that character in this because now he's just Chris Pratt, and I'm like,
I did notice that his dialogue is very much
yeah.
that, but it's like when they turned Tony Stark into
Mhm.
Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
But I mean, at first when I was reading this, because the first, I don't know, 10 pages or so is all taking place on Hulk's
I had no
planet.
idea what it was.
And I was like, oh no, is this all about Planet
Yeah.
Hulk? I didn't read that shit. And then it becomes a bigger thing fairly quickly, where that's just our entry point into what's happening, which is that all these leaders are being killed. And it becomes a murder mystery. And then there's a whole twist, like we mentioned earlier in the show, that there was a lot of Wakanda, that the blame is being foisted on the Wakandans, who I forgot are also cosmic,
Yeah.
or at least they have
I
been
don't
lately.
remember why.
I did have a thought today that vibranium must be a finite resource, right? I mean, like the asteroid hit Wakanda, the vibranium asteroid,
Mhm.
and that's what they mine. But it's not like it replicates. So they're talking about needing vibranium to make stargates. I'm like, that's a lot of vibranium.
Maybe they use like an alloy thing. I read something once
And
or
also, the
heard it.
guy's shooting vibranium bullets. I'm like, that's a waste of vibranium.
Maybe it's like a coded thing though.
Still,
Also, it's comic books. There's literally as much as
I
they
know,
need.
I know.
It
I'm
really
just
doesn't
that was the
matter.
thought I had.
It
Though. I was
goes
like,
it
God,
goes
they're just
really no,
wasting
no, I know
vibranium.
that. I remember hearing once, and this always stuck with me, is that somebody must have been like This American Life or Malcolm Gladwell, is that there's only, I think it was Malcolm Gladwell, there's only enough gold in the entire earth to fill about the size of an Olympic swimming pool.
Right,
And if you
right.
think of all the things that are gold, like there's not that much of it. And
Like
it's
actual
still
gold.
everywhere. Yeah. So I figure vibranium works like that. And they have a mountain's worth plus everything underground.
But I mean, if
Is
you
blown around.
watch Die Hard with a Vengeance, which you should, a lot of gold in that movie.
Yeah.
Fort Knox is for tourists, as he says.
Mhm. No, it might be there's some elements
I'm
of
actually
that.
reading.
Not
If you want
true.
to, if you'd like to know, I'm reading a book right now called Nazi Gold,
Oh.
which is an investigation. So here's the thing, Josh, and let's talk about this for a second. You'll be interested.
I like how you went to your
The
NPR.
Reichsbank, which
Yep.
was the National Bank of the Nazi
Bank of
Party,
the Reich.
where they would not only keep all the German wealth, but all the wealth they were plundering, including all the gold and jewelry and artwork. Apparently, once Berlin fell, that shit started disappearing. And so
No.
the question that this book is investigating, I'm only about 30 pages into it, is which American units did steal all the gold? Because that's basically seems to be what happened.
Wasn't it George Clooney and Sam Rockwell?
Well, that was Monuments Man. God, that movie sucked, and it should have been so good.
I know. I know.
I still remember seeing it, and I still remember where I was and what theater. It was in Santa Barbara. Ugh. Anyway, this book is interesting because I didn't know that the U.S. basically Ocean's 11 all the Nazi gold out of there after they took down Berlin. But I'll know more later. I'm reading it right now.
Do you remember what sentence Hjalmar Schacht, head of the Reichsbank, was given at the Nuremberg trials? I don't know. I had to look it up, but I did read
No,
it.
I did not. I
I
didn't get to that
think they
point
let
yet.
him go. Let's see.
Oh, that dude. Yeah.
Schacht. He said he didn't do anything.
They took all the we have to stop them. They took all the gold out of the bank when it was clear that Berlin was being attacked, and they moved it to a mine.
He was acquitted.
That's not surprising. They moved it to a mine outside of the city, like
A mine?
salt mine or some kind of mine deep in the ground. And Patton and a bunch of other Patton and Eisenhower, a bunch of people had to go once it was found. Like in the scene of Band of Brothers when they find all the wine, It's like that, but with gold. They bring down Eisenhower. They get everyone. Eisenhower, Patton, all the big old Bradley, and they
All
go
the
down there,
soldiers walking real heavy and clanking.
and they're like, oh fuck, like we got to do something about this. So anyway, what they choose to do, I think, is steal it. Anyway, let's move on.
This is the farthest we've ever gotten away from the patron pick in the middle of a conversation.
I like the book.
Here's my point. I think I liked the elements, but I don't know how they've come together in such a way that makes me super interested yet. So it's really going to be about execution going forward, I think, for me to care. Because really, at this point, the things you need to be interested in are the characters, because we don't really know what's happening. There's a poison mystery, but I don't care.
I like a murder mystery. I like bringing back Rick Ryder, who's been out of it for a long time. He's got a beard, which is weird with the helmet.
He looks like one of the Mr. Fantastics and something.
So you've got a fun, disparate set of characters. You've got Rich Rider, Nova. You've got Star-Lord. You've got Hulk. You've got She-Hulk. You've got Brawn. You've got the two guys, Hulkling and the other dude from Young Avengers. You know, you got the Krees. You got the Skrulls. You got Wakanda. I think there's a lot of interesting elements here. I finished it. I was like, that was fun. I'm looking forward to reading more of that. So I'm into it.
I'm not hooked, but it's got promise. That's what I think.
Let's rate it. Ratings. I like a guy about to reveal a clue and gets shot by a sniper. I mean, they got me. Out of 5 stars, I'm giving Imperial number 1 4.25. I liked it.
Was Rich Rider always a blonde?
I don't know.
He has dark hair. He's got dark hair when he first meets Ollie Quinn. Star-Lord. And then when he shows up at the end in the helmet, he has blonde hair, and I thought it was Star-Lord in there.
Maybe he's got like a red beard, and maybe it's the gold helmet reflecting on.
And he looks smaller than Star-Lord in the other one. Here he looks bigger than. It doesn't matter. 3.9.
Okay. Would you have read this without it being the patron pick?
Yes.
Yes, I did read it without it being the patron pick. And are you sticking with it? I'm sticking with it.
Yes.
All right, there you go. Patreon.com/iFanboy. Thanks everybody for being a patron. Every patron who
I think maybe this week I'm the problem.
No, you liked it. 3.9 is a good score. Every patron who's a patron of the show gets a vote out of book to the rundown. That's your right. That's your franchise. But if you give it the $5 or higher level, you get a superpower live on the show, like Jack Higgins.
As I'm saying it, I feel like maybe we've done it, but I can't be sure, and I don't want to. Jack Higgins is the nicknamer. Anyone, we all, growing up in the 80s,
sure,
we all wanted nicknames. We all read G.I. Joe, and then in the movies, people always had like
Styles,
Mouth, Chunk. Everybody wanted a nickname. My son wanted a nickname. He tried to make one up, but it didn't take because
you can't give yourself a nickname.
Exactly. But you also don't want to get a bad nickname. And you don't want it to stick. So, but what Jack Higgins does is he just bestow the right nickname on anybody he meets, and it sticks with people. It's catchy. It's not it has something to do with the person. It's not insulting. It's a nickname you want to have, and he knows what that is. That's what we do. We give nicknames.
What's strange is Curtis Armstrong's character in Better Off Dead doesn't have a nickname. And you'd think
Charles
a guy
DeMar?
but you'd think a guy who wears a top hat would have a nickname in an 80s movie. He'd be called something, but
I would go so far as to say 2 things. One, if you have a name like Charles DeMar, I do not believe you need a nickname. And that is an option. If your name is so good, like your name is Charles DeMar, and if you say it all at once, you can't say Charles, can't say DeMar, it's Charles DeMar. You don't need to be. And also, he's also Booger at the same time. So it obviates the need to a certain extent.
The writer-director of the film has a nickname, Savage Steve Holland.
There's not a lot of directors who have their nickname
in their
credit. Yeah. Also, I would say that there is a chance that his name is like Milton Hubersmith, but he's like, I'm going to be called Charles DeMar. When he got the hat, he was like, I'm now Charles DeMar. I can believe that.
I was in a store on Abbott Kinney, this super trendy street in Venice, and this was a long time ago. And there was in the store, there was a top hat, and I was like, could I do that? Like, I want to be able to do that.
Do you think that at one point, Curtis Armstrong was walking around like in like 85 or so, and then he saw like Slash for the first time. I was like, God damn it, that was my thing.
You know, I was watching Gangs of New York, and I was like, every fashion style comes back but the top hat. When is the top hat going to have its return?
I mean,
Some fucker on TikTok needs to do it, then it'll be a
it's
thing.
awfully ostentatious. It's like the bustle's not coming back.
It's awesome. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for being a patron, Jack. Patreon.com/iFanboy. You could work at 1960s Marvel and give everyone a nickname in the credits like they used to.
He'd be better at it.
Then
again, King, never been a better nickname.
No.
Jack King Kirby. That's fantastic.
That was also Clark Gable's nickname. Which email do you want to do?
Dan from Baltimore.
You want to do Dan's?
Clark Gable flew B-24 bombers and hung out with everybody so that they could attract ladies.
I know. And his nickname was King.
Yeah. He's a good dude. He was a good hang. Dan from Baltimore says, with the sad passing of comic legend Peter David, it had me thinking if a comic book hall of fame was ever built and they dedicated a wing to the comic creators who best represent what it means to be G.O.S.H, gosh, good old superhero, what creators do you think should be included? I feel like Peter David would have quite the plaque, and perhaps Mark Waid as well. Anyone else come to mind? I've been thinking about this ever since I heard the sad news. I like that you turned that tragedy into an
Good
overall question. That's good. I think so we're applying the Sports Hall of Fame rules to this. I think.
What's interesting is I thought about this when I read the question when I saw it in the script, is that are we talking about current people who give you that feeling, or are you talking about the people who actually did it that this feeling is recreating? So you're talking about the Dave Michelinis of the Dan Jurgenses, the people who wrote the comics in that era that we refer to back as G.O.S.H.
I think possibly
Kurt Busiek.
All right, so
or are we talking about modern?
Let's say that we are applying. Somebody working right now isn't in the Hall of Fame yet. You got to give them
Mark Gruenwald.
Say that the rule is, it has to be 30 years from your seminal work, whatever it was, so we have to look back to a certain amount of time.
So it has to be guys it has to be people from when we were in high school writing comics
and earlier. I mean, there's all sorts
of
ways.
Yeah, I'm saying at the earliest. I mean, the latest could be high school.
Right. But like we're not at like Quesada can't get in yet. Just to be arbitrary about it. Brubaker can't get in yet. No, he's close. Those guys.
Brubaker is not a G.O.S.H. But Brubaker's not a G.O.S.H. writer.
That's what I'm saying. I think he's conflating. So it just made me think of like, who would you put in a comic book Hall of Fame and what would you use?
Oh no, that's a different question. He's asking about G.O.S.H. writers. He's not asking about who.
He's saying if they dedicated a wing to it. Okay,
yeah, he's saying who would be in the G.O.S.H. Hall of Fame wing.
Listen, here's the thing. I read it, and when I'm reading something to you, I'm not taking it in. That's why. It doesn't work.
Or you're answering the question you rather answer.
No, I think this is
the question is who would be in the G.O.S.H. wing of the Hall of Fame? That's the question.
So, but here's the thing: is that up to a certain point, everybody's in the G.O.S.H. wing.
No, I don't think that's. I mean, some writers aren't G.O.S.H. writers. Like I would say, Tom King is a G.O.S.H. writer.
No. If we're talking about comic book writers from before 1995,
that was my original question. Right. Are we talking about the original guys who wrote the G.O.S.H. then, or are we talking about the guys now who recreate that feeling?
But you're not nominating players who are around now to be in the Hall of Fame. They have to wait their turn.
Sure.
So I'm saying up to a certain point, everybody who gets in there is in the G.O.S.H. part.
And I would put Peter David in even because it's been over 30 years since his heyday.
I mean. So this would go back. So let's say let's work with the 80s and 90s people and just say like you can't put in everybody who you think of and who you like. You say David Michelinie, I'd be like, nah, I don't think that counts.
No, I was just rattling off people who were writing back then. I would say Mark Gruenwald for sure. Jurgens gets in.
Sure. Yeah. Walt is the
Simonson for sure.
Walt gets a room, I think. Byrne.
Is Byrne G.O.S.H.? Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Claremont.
Yes.
Claremont. Like he's unassailable in that way.
Wheezy.
I don't know.
She wrote great comics.
Yeah. Can you name
Superman?
Can you name like a story she did that you remember?
I mean,
you can't. She did certain
No,
chapters.
I think I mean like the number of stories I can remember from the 80s is dwindling.
Right, but if I said to you, Mark Grunwald, do you remember stories he did?
Well, that's I mean that's
Right. This is the we're talking Hall of Famers.
All right.
You can't just be good to get the Hall of Fame. You have to be actually memorable.
Then I would put McElhinney in there because he was doing Spider-Man and he was doing Iron Man and he he did a lot of stuff. He did Emperor Doom. I would put McElhinney in there, and I would put J.M. DeMatteis and Keith Giffen in there. Roger Stern.
Did they share?
No, because DeMatteis did a lot of great stuff with solo work. He did Spider-Man. He did Craven, this Craven storyline in Spider-Man. I would put who did I just say? No, not as a writer.
I'm not talking about writers. We're just talking about creators. Are we talking about writers?
Oh, well, he doesn't say writers, but
he says comic creators who best represent what it means to be G.O.S.H.
And then this just ends up being a list of 80s creators that were good.
Nope. It's a list of 80s and 90s early 90s creators who made an impact with their style by working back then. Like Jerry it's not Ordway. Just everyone you liked. I guess. I don't see how you leave him out.
Arthur Adams.
Yes. He shined brightly quickly and then did something else.
Roger Stern, who was doing Avengers to Stern there. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The whole
he's a role player.
No, he wrote all those Avengers comics, all the 80s Avengers comics.
What are those stories?
Black.
Name me one.
I mean, I can't. That's the thing about Marvel comics. They weren't written in storylines. They were written in epic.
I get it.
Soap operas. The Dr. Druid, Black Knight, Sandman lineup of Avengers. That was all Roger Stern. All those great sort of not primetime player. Those are great. This is the hard thing about qualifying.
I think some of those guys were like just yeoman guys. Roger Stern they did the job. They did the job well, but they were just working in the style.
He also wrote the kid who collected Spider-Man, one of the most famous Spider-Man comics of all time.
I don't remember that, but that's
one of the dying kid who Peter reveals his identity to at the end and he dies.
Kind of
one of the most famous Spider-Man stories ever.
All right.
The 80s is tough because you weren't really reading them.
Yeah. I mean,
so it's hard to judge.
It's true. I just have to go off how they've been held in regard in history.
I think if you ask anyone, Hall of Fame questions are tough. Hall of Fame questions are tough. But I think for sure. I mean, I think
I really only have the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the NBA Hall of Fame to go by. So I don't know how it works for baseball or country music.
Baseball is similar to basketball. There's a certain time frame from when you retire to when you can be elected, and then you have to have 75% of the ballots to get in. But then there's a veterans committee who can put people in who weren't voted in. Who can put in like people who maybe the public didn't realize were good. Obviously, Frank Miller goes in because he was.
Oh yeah, he gets a wing. Him and Alan Moore get a wing. Although, gosh, yeah, Frank.
That's what I mean. And just because they're reading these doesn't mean they were gosh.
No, that's why I'm saying you can either take that or leave that. I think.
Yeah.
As a discussion point, Mike Zeck.
Yeah.
Is it enough? Larry Hama's in there, right?
Yeah, for sure. And then you go down rabbit holes of Jim Lee. For 100%, he's 100%. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer in the
comic world. I know, but I just but they're like he's like next generation.
He was late 80s.
Yeah, I know, but like he heralded the coming time as opposed to the thing.
Well, how far back we're going because 30 years ago was 1997 or 1995.
I don't know. I'm not. These are not hard and fast rules. I'm just trying to work my way around it. You want guidelines, and I'm just like,
no, because you were the one who expanded it out. I was just trying to think of G.O.S.H writers for the G.O.S.H wing, and you said everyone from the 80s was eligible.
Yeah,
I was going to try to be niche about it, but it wouldn't be. I mean,
there's a line in my head, and I think it's probably like pre-Image. Like that's sort of where it lives. I think, and all those Image guys, even though
they're all the Image guys going
before Image,
Tom McFarlane,
they're like the next. Yeah.
I mean, Mark Waid started his first story was in 85, but he doesn't really blow up until The 90s.
Yeah.
He does Flash in 92. That's when he really sort of blew up in the public conscious. I mean, he'd done a lot of stuff before then, though. So it's tough. But I would put him as more of a 90s forward creator.
He helped put it into bankruptcy and then take it out. I think that's enough meandering.
I think we were always talking about when we were doing the video show, doing a show like this, not a Hall of Fame show, but doing like a ranking. We never did it. It would have been so much work. It would be so much work just to list people out. Maybe that's
and ultimately, like, it'd be arbitrary.
Oh well, yeah, it's all arbitrary. I think that's what the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is arbitrary. I think it might be a fun hangout topic where we could really sort of dig in for an hour and sort of like get like a whiteboard up and start listing names of.
Just do a draft. 80s
comic creators draft. Interesting.
Yeah, but we have to find a narrow band.
We have to do some pre-work on that.
Thank you.
The next question, you want to stop?
Nope, we're going to stop.
Okay.
Thank you, Dan. Good question. Even though Connor and I could not get the same thing out of it.
No, but it was fine. I think I think discussing what I think I went through an interesting conversation about what counts and what doesn't count. What's and remembering some good comics.
So we would like to hear from you. If you have more questions, it's contact@ifanboy.com or contact@ifanboy, and you can write Media Explode in the subject line if you have a question for our non-comics podcast, our monthly non-comics podcast.
We are in June somehow. I don't know how that happened.
Of 2025. 2003 just happened.
It just happened.
It just happened.
There are people
who your webcam is 10 years old. And
at least it's at least 10 years old. I think it's
right. But I went, so that's 2015. Things from that are still new. In my mind, 2015 is not 10 years ago.
No, I think this webcam actually is from 2013 or so. I think it's that when we got it. This is from I took this from an old job. Last month we had our Thunderbolts review, so you can go back and find that in the feed. A couple weeks ago, Josh had his talk with Aubrey Sitterson. Last week we had our Media Explode where we ranked the post 2000 films of Steven Spielberg and led to probably the longest conversation in Discord we've ever had faced in a podcast, which is still going right now. This very week, we're going to have our Book Explode review of Ronin, the Frank Miller 1980s classic. Ronin.
It's not about the Kree at all.
This is very confusing. This is going to happen this coming week, so look for that. And then later this month, we're going to have, and I think it's actually in 2 weeks, we're going to have our next Media Explode. We're going to do old men and old movies. We're going to review Rad. What year did Rad come out, Josh?
I want to say 85, but I can't.
I just tried to type in Rad and it.
One, I can sing "Send Me an Angel."
86. Rad, the 1986 film directed by Hal Needham. That's crazy.
Everyone knows Hal Needham. I don't think he's going into the Hall of Fame.
The directing Hall of Fame? Well, Lori Loughlin's in it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He did Cannonball Run. He did Smokey and the Bandit, Hal Needham. Come on.
Maybe he is. I don't know.
He did A Star is Born.
Tell you what, it was a long way down to Rad.
Oh, no, that's a stuntman. That's a stuntman.
Oh. That makes so much more sense.
He did his first film was Smokey and the Bandit. He directed that. He directed Smokey and the Bandit 2, Hooper, Cannonball Run, which is just Smokey and the Bandit again. Rad.
The fact that Hooper isn't about Matt Hooper, it's just disappointing.
So anyway, we're going to be reviewing Rad from 1986 with a special guest. There'll be a fourth person on the show. You'll have to tune in and find out who that is. And then in July, we're teasing it now, we're going to play another edition of the TV game in which we pick a show for each of us to watch, but also we're going to pair that with a smaller summer mailbag, just as a double feature. So if you want to get an email in for the summer mailbag, put Media Explode in the title of your email, and maybe put summer mailbag also in there, just so we know what it's for. But in July we'll have our summer mailbag show, so write those emails in, and you'll get on the show.
You are able just right now to find our entire library of shows that we have done at ifanboy.com over many, many years. Or you can find them wherever you want to download podcasts. You search the podcast app or wherever for the word iFanboy, and they're all there. It's the main reason we can't change that name. We're really stuck with it because then the search function would be all messed up. You can never miss a show. and find out what's going on and other stuff by following us. And never miss a pick of the week. You'll know what it is before the show. That's important. On social media, at iFanboy Comics on Instagram and Threads, at iFanboy.com on Blue Sky. Connor and I are CS Kilpatrick and Jay Flanagan on Instagram. Go see some reels.
And you also find Jeff Reed's Tuesday and Thursday videos. His comic book deep dives are on all those places as well. Well, not on Blue Sky at the moment because they're too big for Blue Sky. There's too many megabytes. Blue Sky is a very tight cap, which was surprising to find. So you'll find those on Threads and Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. Please consider writing a review or leaving a star rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whether you get your podcasts. If you're listening on Pocket Casts, you need to be subscribed. And you've got to have downloaded a few episodes before you can rate it. But once you do, please consider doing that. Subscribe to youtube.com/iFanboy. And I guess also hit the bell, which apparently means when a new show drops and you're on YouTube, you get a little alert. So there you go. Do the bell too. Thanks to everyone who subscribed. We're over 5,000 now, but let's keep going. There's way more than 5,000 of you listening. So please consider subscribing to youtube.com/iFanboy. What can you find there? You can watch this show. You can watch the video version of all the shows we do now, except for the Talk Explodes. You can find Jeff Reed's deep dives on Tuesdays and Thursdays in the shorts section. You can find an archive of all of our old video shows that we did from 2007 to 2012. We have so much video stuff on that account. You may not realize that. People who may never visited may not know that there's tons and tons and tons of iFanboy video there. Also, people who subscribed way back in the day may not know where this is even happening. We get comments all the time going, "Oh shit, you guys are doing video again?" So a lot of those 5,000 people are from the old days. They need to step it up.
They know not to listen to the end of the show.
They never did. Finally, join us on the iFanboy After Show exclusively on Patreon.
Magic Hour.
They don't. Lots of people dropped out by now. I remember one person got really mad at us because they didn't know we were doing one of our live anniversary shows, even though we had plugged it for a full month at the end of the show.
That sounds like a you problem.
It sounds like it's a problem of dropping out too early before the magic is over. Anyway, where was it?
By the way, everyone still listening to this point gets $1 million.
Whoa!
In your hearts.
Join us on the iFanboy After Show exclusively on Patreon, where we'll share our thoughts on all the other books that we read this week that didn't make the show rundown. It's not super long, but it's going to happen. That's at patreon.com/iFanboy for everyone at a $10 a month tier and up. And thank you for listening. I'm so happy to get a new camera soon.
It's always an excuse.
I'm so grainy.
Yeah.
I look like weird file footage.
It matches your personality. I don't even know what that means.
It's a little grainy. I'm Connor.
Josh. In full resolution.